Patricia Whitcomb. The reason why we should have plea bargaining. Samuel Jackson played a character named Carl Lee Haley in the movie Time to Kill. I hope you all today have seen this movie. This movie is a heart-wrenching movie about a father who kills for his little girl. If you don't know, the character of Samuel L. Jackson is a father who killed the racist man for brutally raping his young daughter. This could be anybody's father, husband, or brother. The little girl could be anybody's daughter or sister. Can you imagine for a second this man standing in front of a judge without a chance of plea bargaining? The charges is murder. The sentence is execution in prison without parole. All for doing what a father probably would attempt to do if given a chance. This is just one of the many reasons of why plea bargaining should not be abolished. Due to the case overload in American court, plea bargaining is a crucial element of the judicial system, therefore should not be abolished. I work in the correctional field, and I see many offenders on both sides of the spectrum. Often I see the offenders with the same charge, and their years different in sentence. Today, I will discuss with you how plea bargaining saves a large amount of money, how it gives a defendant a way out of a harsh mandatory sentence, and keep a victim from enduring a long, lengthy trial procedure. So let's start by looking at the first reason why plea bargaining should not be abolished. Plea bargaining saves a large amount of money. According to the United States Department of Justice, in 2000, there was 55,897 criminal cases in the United States. Consider the vision of every single felony case in the United States having to go to trial. A law professor named Bruce Green said, "It is a way of fairness to witness the prosecution and the jury." Imagine if these cases and the victims had to go to court to testify. All in these cases, people would have to leave their job in order to serve on the jury. That would be a very enormous thing for the public. For example, can you imagine how this will affect you financially if you had to have a tax hike or leave or absence from work? Who can afford that today? Now let's look at the second reason why plea bargaining should not be abolished. Plea bargaining also allows defendants to get out of harsh mandatory minimum sentence, taking the crime of burglary in a dwelling, for example. In the state of Mississippi, burglary of a dwelling carries a mandatory minimum sentence of 10 years. Many crimes in the United States may face mandatory minimum sentence due to the political trying to adhere to the tough crime platform. The United States Supreme Court said there are 171 mandatory minimum provisions currently in the federal criminal statute. This is more than we have ever had in history. Judge Paul Catholic, a Democrat from Utah, have recently required to impose that the statute for the first time. It was a boy that was 24 years old. He was sentenced to 55 years in sentence because of the mandatory minimum sentence in that case. The judge said, quoting, "This is just simply irrational." Now let's look at the final reason plea bargaining should not be abolished. Plea bargaining can spare victims that sometimes that haunting task of enduring a long, lengthy trial. There are many victim rights that are pushing for consultation requirements from the prosecutor and the victim before agreeing to a plea bargain with that defendant. An advocate of one group was recently quoted about the review of the victim's consolation right. The quoting saying, "Hopefully the review will put some meat on the bones of the legal side and will be given the rights to the victim, not at the expense of prosecuting at the expense of protecting the rights of the accuser. 95% of all felony convictions never make it to trial because of plea bargain. This means that the victim actually agreed to the plea bargain because of the time and the pain that it spares them and otherwise a long, lengthy trial. Isn't that the ultimate goal of the crime that is being committed, for the victim to see that justice has been served? Now, let me remind you of the importance of the elements of justice. I mentioned to you earlier about a character named Carl Lee Haley, played by Samuel Jackson. This could be anyone's father, brother, or son. Maybe this hadn't quite hit home for you, so I will ask you another question. What if this character was you, and it was not a movie, but real life? Now, you are standing in front of a judge. Your life in the hand of a jury. You're guilty. No way out. Plea bargain being abolished wouldn't sound that great, would it? The quote Carl Lee Haley had from A Time to Kill: America is a wall, and you're on the other side. What if you were on the other side?